So now we will be seeing about the histogram, the frequency polygon and pie charts. Now the histogram as such, it is a type of bar chart. So the earlier general rules which were told in the video on bar charts, those same rules, they are still to be followed. Now we are going to see about the construction of the histogram. So first requirement is that there has to be a frequency distribution table. So you have to construct it. So how to construct the frequency distribution table? In order to recall that, you can just see the video on the presentation of data in tabular form. So once the frequency distribution table is in place, then what you have to do, you have to plot the frequencies on the vertical axis, and then you have to plot the lower value of each interval on the horizontal axis. After this, a bar has to be drawn which extends from the lower value of each interval to the lower value of the next interval, and the height of each bar, it should be equal to the frequency of the corresponding interval. So now this is a table. In this table we are seeing that we have got mutual fund prices in the form of the class intervals and the number of mutual funds. This will of course represent the frequencies. So we will see how the histogram has been constructed for this particular data set. So here you can see that on the horizontal axis we have got the mutual fund prices, that is the class intervals, and on the vertical axis we have got the number of mutual funds, that is of course the frequencies. So once again you can see that the height of each bar, that is each rectangle over here, it represents the frequency. So for the first class interval 10 to 15, what we have, the frequency is 6. Likewise for 15 to 20, 11, and so on up to 35 to 40, the frequency is 2. So this sort of a diagram which is drawn, as you can see that it is looking like the bar chart. Only thing is that there are no gaps between the bars. You can see the continuity. So this type of a chart, it is called as a histogram. Now we are going to see about the frequency polygon. So once again the same data set is being used. Only thing is I have done one additional thing. I have added two classes at the beginning of the table, that is one class, and at the end of the table one class, and because there is no such class actually, so that is why the frequency has been depicted as 0. So we shall see why all this has been done. So how this frequency polygon is formed? It is formed by marking the midpoint at the top of the horizontal bars in the histogram, and then you have to join these dots by a series of straight lines. But one important point is that the frequency polygons are formed as a closed figure with the horizontal axis. See what has been done. The midpoint of each bar has been taken into account. See, 10 to 15 was one bar in the histogram. So you can just rewind the video and you can see the histogram. So midpoint was here 10 to 15, and this point of course is the frequency. Likewise we have the midpoint of 15 to 20, and this is the corresponding frequency. So what you have to do is you have to connect all these with the straight lines. But one additional thing which I did was I created two more classes, 5 to 10 and 40 to 5, which is not there, so therefore gave it the frequency as 0 and extended the line up to the horizontal axis. So this helps in making the frequency polygon as a closed figure. Okay, so that is the general way that you should draw the frequency polygon. So one thing is that drawing the frequency polygon, it does not necessarily mean that you have to construct the histogram. Without histogram also you can draw the frequency polygon. What you should do is that directly you just plot the points above the midpoint of the class interval. See, for example, over here 10 to 15, this is the midpoint. Above that you just plot the point corresponding to the frequency. For this case the frequency was 6, so here we have written 6. Likewise, you can go on plotting all the points and then once again draw a straight line connecting all these points, and that will give you the frequency polygon. So histogram is not compulsory in order to draw the frequency polygon. So now we are going to see the frequency curve. So in the frequency curve, basically what is done is that the frequency polygon is just smoothed. So sometimes it is also known as smooth frequency polygon, and rest of all the things of plotting the curve etc., they remain the same. So two frequency distributions, they can also be compared by superimposing two or more frequency curves, provided the width of their class intervals and the total number of frequencies are equal for the given distributions. That is one point which you should keep in mind. So even if the distributions to be compared differ in terms of total frequencies, they can still be compared by drawing the percent frequency curves, where the vertical axis measures the percent frequencies and not the absolute frequencies. So this is regarding the frequency curve. Cumulative frequency distribution curve, it is also called as ogive. So over here the same data we are using once again. Only thing is now we are talking about cumulative frequencies. So here we have written the less than cumulative frequency and the more than cumulative frequency, and this is what we are going to use to plot the frequency distribution curve. So because we are using cumulative frequency distribution, that is why it is CF distribution curve, or it is also called as the ogive. So here you can see what has been done. Here we have taken cumulative frequencies into account. So this curve which you see in the blue color, that is the less than CF. So again you can rewind the video and you can see over there less than CF values. So 6, 17, then 23, 33, 38, 40. Likewise here the curve which is in the brown color, that is the more than ogive curve. So over here we have got the more than cumulative frequencies. Again you can rewind the video and see that table. So 2, 7, 14, 26, 34, 40. So in this manner, here the only thing is that now in the frequency distribution we were taking frequencies, but in this ogive what we are taking the cumulative frequencies as such to draw the curve. So what is the use of drawing this curve? It helps us to see how many observations lie above or below certain values, rather than merely recording the number of observations within the intervals. So this cumulative frequency distribution is another method of data presentation which helps us in the data analysis and interpretation. It is popularly as such called as ogive. That is the name. Now to draw the cumulative less than ogive, first of all, see here these are all the frequencies itself. Only that the way the plotting is done by making use of the less than or more than frequencies. So for less than ogive we are taking less than cumulative frequencies, so 6, 17 and so on. And for more than ogive curve we are taking the more than CF values and we are plotting them. So two ogives, whether less than or more than type, they can be readily compared by drawing them on the same graph paper like it has been done in this particular case. And the presence of the unequal class intervals, it does not as such bring any problem in the comparison. Okay. So if the total frequencies are not the same in the two distributions, they can first be converted into percent frequency distributions, and then the ogive can be drawn on the single graph paper to facilitate comparison. Of course, one more time it is important to mention And nowadays, of course, we make use of the software such as Excel, SPSS, etc. in order to draw all these types of different curves. So here we are discussing the manual ways of drawing the curves, because it is important, even if we do it with the software, it is important as such to know what is the fundamental theory behind drawing these curves in order to represent the data, and also what is their use. So we are now seeing about the pie charts. Some data has been given about different companies and their market share by revenues in percentage. So these are the company names, you can say, and over here is the market share by revenue in terms of the percentage. So this is the pie chart. Now this pie diagram or pie chart, it is normally used to show the total number of observations of different types in the data set on a percentage basis rather than on an absolute basis, and this is done by means of a circle. So what has to be done? The steps to draw the pie chart are like this. First, you have to convert the various observations which are given in percent in the data set into corresponding degrees in the circle by multiplying each by 3.6. Okay. So after this, after converting to degrees, we have to draw the circle of appropriate size with the compass, and then draw the points on the circle according to the size of each portion of the data. That means you have to actually manually you have to find the angle, and then after that use the center of the circle, and for each corresponding percentage, whatever is the angle, that one you have to draw by making use of a protractor, etc. So this is the manual way. Of course, once again it is necessary to mention that today we are doing all this by making use of the available softwares. So the pie chart as such, it has got some very distinct advantages. First of all, you can see that it is aesthetically pleasing, and it also shows that the total for all the categories or slices of the pie, as it is called, adds to 100%. So immediately, just by looking at the chart, you can get the idea as to who has the least market share, who has the highest market share, or like this way, such information at one glance we can obtain from the pie chart.